Today we're going to do a camera comparison of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. We've got the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. We also have the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. And finally, we have the OnePlus 13. I'm super curious to see which one of these comes out on top.
All right, so the first thing I wanted to do was see how these phones would capture a portion of my new gaming room. And I gotta say that I'm pretty happy with all four exposures. The OnePlus is definitely the most vibrant. Maybe it's slightly oversaturated. The iPhone seems a bit muted, and I'm super curious to know which one do you like, again, specifically for this image. Now moving on to shooting in daylight, starting with the ultrawide, all four do a really good job at capturing the scene. The iPhone looks slightly more contrasty, followed by the S25 Ultra and the OnePlus 13, and you can see that the Pixel is definitely bringing up the shadows for a bit more of a flat look. Then looking at the skies, the S25 Ultra renders the most saturated blue. Now zooming into One X, again, all four phones are nice and crisp. The Pixel still has a slightly flatter image by bringing up some of the shadows. When taking a quick look at 3X, I think that we're seeing similar levels of details in all four shots, so let's get a little closer. At 5X, the S25 Ultra is probably the sharpest in the center, followed by the iPhone and the Pixel, and then the OnePlus 13. At 10X, all of them look pretty good, so things are getting a little bit tighter. And then we get to the highest zoom that each phone can do, and here you really need to choose between the sharpest images, which are the iPhone and the Pixel, or the highest zoom, and here of course the OnePlus gets closer, but the S25 Ultra has kind of the best of both worlds. Now next I went into one of the coolest grocery stores that I've ever seen to see how these phones handle indoor lighting at 4K. Now personally I think that they look really good, and you could definitely see that they each handle the white balance slightly differently. And this was my first time at this store. I'd heard of it, but I'd never visited it myself, and it's definitely a place I want to go to again. Now going outside, I wanted to start out shooting in challenging conditions as the sun is going to be in front of me. The OnePlus has the least amount of blue in the sky. The S25 Ultra is definitely darker in the shadows, followed by the iPhone and then the Pixel. And the OnePlus really brings out the center of the statue, almost like there's another source of light. Now we're getting lens flare on all four phones, which is what you'd expect. And overall, I think that they did an excellent job, with the main issue being me getting my finger in the way of the S25 Ultra. It was time for me to warm up a little bit, and this was a good chance to check out skin tones for 4K video indoors with a selfie camera. Now the iPhone is the warmest image and the best dynamic range. The image on the Pixel looks good, followed by the OnePlus, and for some reason the S25 Ultra seemed to have really underexposed this shot, maybe in an effort to compensate for the sun outside. Now, then I wanted to check cinematic video or portrait video outside, and that's a feature that's not available on the selfie camera of the Pixel 9 Pro XL. The OnePlus might have the best edge detection, followed by the S25 Ultra and then the iPhone, but when we look at dynamic range, the order is reversed. Just look at how nice the sky is on the iPhone video, followed by the S25 Ultra, and then look at how blown out it is on the OnePlus. All right, now going back inside for a quick zoom test, we start out with the ultra-wide, going to 1x for a good side-by-side, and then finally to the highest zoom that each phone can manage. I also wanted to just share some general photos with you. Like, these would be the type of photos that I'm taking if I'm visiting a new place. I love looking at different architectural elements, and as you're checking them out, keep an eye on things like the exposure, the sharpness, the saturation, and dynamic range, which is how well each phone handles everything between the brightest and the darkest parts of the image. Now, cameras with better dynamic range will do a better job at showing details in the brightest and the darkest parts of the image, versus ones that struggle with this, where those areas might be blown out or completely dark. Now, before we get to night photography and video, I wanted to check out slow motion and macro. Now, I think that all four phones do a good job here. I might like the iPhone the best, and at the same time, it was impossible for me to get the exact same framing on all of them while taking the same shot, so let me know what you think. Now with the macro shot, it was a really tough choice. Like, I love how close I could get with the S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Personally, I like the S25 Ultra better of those two. The Pixel came out a little bit muddy, and while the OnePlus couldn't get as close, I really love the richness of that shot. Now, once it got dark outside, I wanted to see what these phones can do, and I started out with regular selfie video and check out the differences in the image quality and the stability. Now, next I moved to selfie portrait video, which again is not available on the Pixel 9 Pro XL. The OnePlus blurred the background the most and had the brightest image, but the S25 Ultra looked better, and I think this is a win for the iPhone with the best overall results. Now, switching up and looking at the main camera, I was really impressed with all four phones, especially with all the bright lights and the movement that I was introducing into this long shot. I had to make sure that I don't get hit by this person making a 42-point turn in the middle of the street. And moving to the other side of the road, you can see how each phone handles those hot spots on the snowy lawn. Now, there are also some pretty noticeable differences in the level of saturation and some banding in the more challenging areas. Now, moving on to photography, neon signs are always an interesting test. And I think that the OnePlus might have done the best job here, followed by the Pixel, then the S25 Ultra, and finally the iPhone. Then I decided to do a low light sharpness test. So the ultra wide looked pretty good with all four phones. Moving to 1x, they're still good, and let me zoom in to show you some more details. Now going into 5x, again, they all look pretty good with the S25 Ultra probably being my favorite. Then moving on to 10x, it really starts showing how each phone smooths out certain areas to remove noise, and then how some sharpen edges. And then finally at 15x, what this is taken to the next level. Now it's time for a really challenging night shot with plenty of bright lights in it. So starting with the ultra wide, moving to the 1x, which looks pretty good on all four phones, and then finally to 5x, where you can see the OnePlus handling the extremely sharp sign the best, followed by the Pixel, which seems to have a bit of a warm tone to it, the iPhone, which is pretty contrasty and doesn't show a lot of details in the dark areas, then finally the S25 Ultra, which shows the most detail but seems to struggle with the sign. And then I moved on to another challenge for all phones with a night shot that has a brighter interior to deal with. I really like the color on the iPhone photos, and as we zoom in, check out the S25 Ultra with that really nice crisp image. So at $1299 for the S25 Ultra, $1199 for the iPhone 16 Pro Max, $1249 for the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and $899 for the OnePlus 13, which one would you get? You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.